So we welcome Uma this year. Okay.
Fine.
Yes.
I can sit.
Yes, you can take a seat. We are delighted to welcome her and to tell you all that first time it is happening that we are welcoming All India rank third in our institution. Although it has happened in past, people have got first rank, second rank, and it is the third time that someone has got third rank also from our institution. But somehow the first rank, second rank could not manage to come. And last time we had welcomed fifth rank, Abhilash Mishra. And now today we are welcoming the third rank. And another aspect of good thing is that she has expressed her willingness to come, that we feel very thankful. Generally it happens in this world, let's say that today nowadays it becomes difficult when top ranks come, and nowadays the way market is in that situation. She had taken ethics test program, ethics and essay. So she will share her experience related to that. Overall, in general also, she can share her experience of with short journey. No.
Long.
Long journey. So a long journey like you can share. Then we'll come to especially essay and ethics, that how it has helped. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello everyone. I am happy to be here. So to give a brief introduction about myself, my name is Uma Harathi. I graduated with a BTech in Civil Engineering from IIT Hyderabad. I started preparing for Civil Services Examination after I graduated. This is actually my fifth attempt, and earlier I had Geography as my optional. In this attempt I changed it to Anthropology, and this is the first time I scored any rank. And yeah, that is a brief journey. So my journey was not brief, it was pretty long.
It's a very long journey,
Yes.
told in a very briefest manner. So we'll start with ethics, like she can be also more specific on that. Last year, how can you tell people, those who are preparing for ethics nowadays, the way the paper has changed? You may have also experienced how paper has changed in last 5 years.
Yes. So the first thing is, earlier we used to think that we don't need specific preparation for ethics, that we can go and just write something, but that's not true. If you look at the past few years, it is very clear that if you invest in ethics, in your time in ethics, you will see the returns. So most of the people who cleared that I know, they focused on ethics specifically. So in fact it's a short syllabus. So it's easy to
shortest, I will say.
Yes. So it's easy to focus on it and prepare properly. So this is the first thing that I've noticed. So you can no longer take it for granted that I'll just go write something. No, this is something you have to take it in your hands, because that is what determines your final marks, because it's a fetching subject if you focus. The second thing I would say is the length of the paper The last year's paper in particular was quite lengthy, and to do such papers, in my opinion, practice is very important. So you need to, even in general, last year or not, finishing ethics paper is always a challenge. So how do you overcome that challenge? By writing ethics tests, and that is why like I chose Lukmaan, because I couldn't find any other test series that was focusing so much on ethics as a holistic subject with multiple tests. So I think there were 7 tests or so, and the good part is they increased gradually the standard of the paper.
Yes.
So they started with quite what happens is, when you, after prelims or before prelims, when you go and start writing test series, you feel very intimidated by looking at these questions. Can I like ever attempt these questions? They're so analytical, they're so out of the world. I need so much content. But what happened with this was, I picked up the first ethics paper, and then I started writing. They were all very simple questions. What are morals? What are ethics? Nothing applied. And even the case studies were pretty like simple. So this gave me like a good confidence to start writing ethics tests, and the recorded videos as well. So what happened was, I did not have much content or anything for ethics initially. So what I did was, I used to listen to, since they were all basic questions framed from the syllabus itself, the syllabus topics. So when I was listening to the videos, Ansari sir teach, I used to pick up whatever points I need and used to make them into notes. So that's how I actually prepared my ethics notes, like really good notes. One topic of the syllabus, I had just one sheet. This is for ethics or anthropology or anything. One syllabus topic, one A4 size sheet. So this also I developed by listening to the videos. Whatever I was getting, I was trying to like put it in that. And the third thing I would say, like the changing things, is actually pretty much those two only, ethics, and which is what makes practice very, very, very important.
I will tell here, add something.
Yes, sir.
Like our side, so basically when we prepare our ethics paper, we have been from this 2013, we have been making it in a step-by-step manner. That's like, we always say that writing 7 tests is the most challenging.
Right.
We gradually increase the difficulty level.
Right.
First 2 tests are very simple and based on some common sense practices. Then second 2 tests.
And they're also syllabus wise, so that you can finish your syllabus with time.
Yes, and many times since we have developed this habit of giving recorded lectures, recorded videos for discussion. The times in discussion, I tell whether people watch it.
Yes.
But the feedbacks when come, like say when you are saying, it's when you are saying about this that yes, you watch it, make notes, because it's a recorded. We record it. Yes.
Right.
We record at certain time and we just send
Right.
it.
And sir's videos are also very calm, like very pleasing. When compared to the chaos you would otherwise mention, do it, finish it fast. Some other videos, but sir's pace used to be like very gradual, like very calming, and then I found that very comfortable, reassuring.
Yes, because that's also very important.
Yes.
Because the pace and the patience and the students,
Right.
basically when you talk, and when we always try to tell in the discussion, the essence aspect basically should not miss.
Yes.
Because many time it is happening ki answers are becoming just like information.
Right.
So we focus in discussion, what exactly you may have missed.
Right.
What exactly should be the answer. So
Yes.
I guess yes, that is how it can benefit. So this like now let's say people face the difficulties in theory section, in ethics section, and then examples etc. So how you add on that aspect?
Okay. So the first thing I did was, for the theory section, let's talk about the theory section first. For all the syllabus topics like attitude, aptitude, code of conduct, whatever it is, I prepared one conclusion, one introduction for all of these topics beforehand. So I had a sheet so which had like in one column they are all syllabus topics, one below each, and I had introduction and conclusion. So no matter what question they frame on that particular topic, I will still write this introduction and this conclusion. So generally if there is a question on conscience, I will try to, my conclusion was generally a quote given by Gandhiji or something else. So, but I had this prepared beforehand. So if I see a question on conscience, framed in whatever way, but my introduction and conclusion are already fixed. They, like, I wouldn't take even few seconds to just finish them up.
Yes. Nowadays we say to the students, first you write introduction, then read question.
Yeah. So that and the body of the answer you would write as per the demand. And for every
good preparation is this.
Yes.
As soon as you know the topic, I say that you see the question, it is about RTI, the first write introduction,
right,
then
definitely, definitely. It cuts down the time you take for an answer. And again for each syllabus topic, I had one diagram sort of a thing. I made sure, like I was very clear. Below the introduction, I will put something in a box. I don't know what is going to be in that box, there will be a box. So in some boxes there were like diagrams, like things like aptitude, attitude, or like I made diagrams, some simple diagrams, some I copied from other topper copies, some I tried to come up with my own. So like Ansari sir used to give a bar graph. So governance is one, good governance and ethical governance used to have the highest.
Yes.
So that I incorporated. So for every topic, I had some diagram like that, and I made sure like I was writing it. So my point here is, for section A, you should have a lot of things ready in your hand, and examples of course. And I did not like go and search so much for examples. So I had like 10 historical personalities. In there, some info, like little bit of information on them, so that I can use them in multiple places. And 4 or 5 contemporary people like Elon Musk for taking risk and courage sort of things, or Conscience for Infosys founder, things like that. So 5 contemporary people, and in the historical personalities I also made sure it was a bit diverse. So there were some women, there was that, and like again, so some examples from our mythology. So I had examples of Rama, Ravana, and Duryodhana, and I was very clear, like I have to use all these things in the ethics paper, because we learn ethics from these stories, the books that our grandparents read to us, or the common sense that we have. So I wanted to make sure that they are going. So very short list of all these things I had prepared. So everything was ready, only question was missing. So I practice, and see, you can have everything before you and still not be able to write in the exam. That's because you have not practiced them. So this is what happened in my earlier attempts. I was still doing this, but then I did not practice enough or execute it in the test series so that it becomes autopilot on the actual day. So this time around I practiced in the test series. In every test series I was trying to incorporate whatever I was developing, all the strategies. So there was very limited things I was studying, revising, and I put maximum emphasis on practicing and learning from those mistakes that I was making in the tests. So this is what I did for section A. If you prepare this way for every topic, no matter how they frame the question, you will be able to write a decent answer. You just have to write an average to above average answer. You don't have to write like the best answer. If you strive for best answers in ethics, you will never finish the paper. So that is for section A. And for case studies as well. So I think when I joined the test series, Lukmaan provided me a PDF document which segregated case studies theme wise of previous year's questions theme wise. And then when I looked at it, I understood, okay, so case studies are thematic, like there's some themes that keep getting repeated. So I decided what will go into those themes beforehand. So I had
basically like social justice,
right.
They have been asking, governance part, integrity, civil services,
right.
Then they have been asking related to environment ecology, It's almost recurring.
Right, right. There is social justice, mein there is gender justice, which is a very recurring theme. So again, the same thing. I had introductions for these ready. I had conclusions ready, and I made sure I was using examples even in case studies. So this was done here. So that could be done here, and then table format. So when they ask me for options and evaluate those options, so. Can I have a pen to write?
Yes. Cancel. Yes.
So if there was any option, so I would write option 1, whatever option. So I thought, okay, fine, this is a good thing to do, and I kept working on it. So this year there were a lot of you had to write this, like evaluate options.
Yes, yes, critically evaluate.
There were so many such questions. So because I used this as approach, I would quickly finish them, not waste time. And like same thing I used to, the questions are very similar. So in the next question I would just use another word for the same thing.
Yes, we do tell also to people that it's like a cricket uniform. Answer is like cricket uniform, and on cricket uniform you will find there is a national flag, there is someone is sponsor, so the sponsor, let's say, you can have everywhere something is on the uniform. The answer is also like that. It is the base cloth that should be ready, that is fundamentals, and thereafter you should know where to put what. Right. Yes.
Especially when the exam is so competitive, you have to be extremely efficient in writing, and that efficiency comes when you practice, keep on.
You have, let's say, done at least 3 times or 2 times our test program. Do you find any it's similar, or basically how do you find? Don't you feel you feel bored you are writing again and again?
And then there is like no shortcut whatsoever when it comes to ethics. Practice is key, and that is where like most people don't practice. So if you're a little smart about it, then if you practice, you can really make the difference. See the difference in the marks compared to
Yes, that is how we say people. Let's say even one is able to write 7 tests, because we know that it's like when you are walking on certain height, let's say that. Because a test you write, it is a bit simple. You may have done better or you may not have done better. Second test is so a bit difficult, and then it's going. So many a time we feel that some students can feel frustrated because the question, let's say that they may not know this how gradually it is, its difficulty level increasing, and if although we do tell in the beginning the test is like that. So this, although we change. Basically, we change every year. We do not try to repeat. But I was asking that how you feel.
And I was also surprised. Lukmaan has topper copies on their website. So I was seeing that he wrote all the 7 tests. So and I was seeing like different years also.
Yes, yes.
So that means they wrote it multiple times.
Right. Means that has also been tracked, right? Yeah, student is writing multiple times. Yes, then what should be your strategy means related to essay you can share to people? Because essay is also, we sarcastically nowadays say essay is ethics. I say.
What I did was I took 10 personalities and the stories, their stories. So these are common to what I prepared for ethics actually, these 10 personalities. And I used them in the body. And for introduction and conclusion, again I prepared beforehand. I had like 3 or 4 stories. So for example, this time I attempted the question, ship is not made to be in the harbor, it's supposed to be sailing, something like that, right? So I started this with a story on Lord Buddha. I said there was this prince who was born in in the foothills of Himalayas. There was a kingdom and there's a prince. He was born in wealth. He had everything he had to, and he was going on, like life was going on, but somehow he felt dissatisfied over time. He felt that he was not utilizing his life for what it is for. He was just living passively and not realizing. So one day he decided, okay, this is not how life is to be lived. I need to go out and find out what there is. I need to find enlightenment or whatever for myself. So he left all the wealth behind. He had a harbor in place. Everything was set. And yet he understood that this is not his life, called ship is not meant to be in the harbor. So he set out to sail. So let us see if he has found it. And then I started writing general things like relating the topic to economic angle, international angle, and finally in the conclusion I tried to come back to the point by saying he was actually Lord Buddha who went out. And he did find enlightenment, so right.
Yes, that is how connecting the stories.
Right, so that and I always made sure that I had a counter argument in place. So yes, this time,
thesis, counter
right, argument. So here I was trying to show, is it always wrong to be in the harbor? Like not so. Sometimes it's important that you are in the harbor. And I pointed out how Pandavas were in when they were in Ajñātavas. They were not scared or coward to be, but they were preparing essentially. They were doing what is needed so that they can go and win the war when the time is right. So I gave like a couple of such examples from mythology to drive home my counter argument that sometimes it's important that you also stay in the harbor. You should know when the time is right to set out. You should be prepared. You should know where you're going. Otherwise, you'll go directionlessly in the sea. So things like that. So my idea is the introduction, I already had this. I had like for many, when I was practicing essays, I used the same introduction for different things. I just molded it to suit the whatever. So likewise, so another question that I attempted was the right time to repair the roof is when sun is still shining, something like that. So there I gave an example of again I started with the story that few days back there was a story trending on social media. It was a person like properly formally suited but standing in knee deep water, and he said, you might as well bomb us, something like that. So it was none other than I think Tuvalu's foreign minister. He was trying to drive home a point that if we do not act now, when the time is right, when we can still do something, there won't be Tuvalu to do anything. So something like that. I had a story. In fact, this story verbatim I picked up from last year's rank 1 in her essay answer copy, and I stored it. And then I thought, okay, this is a powerful story. I can use it anywhere. I know how to like mold it, remold it, and use it. So that's the idea, like you be very smart, you pick up these nice introductions and conclusions, have like practice them. Don't have too many, just 4 or 5 things which you know are like usable everywhere, and try to implement them in whatever mock tests that you are writing. See the kind of feedback you are getting, and also have try to also use contemporary like examples in using.
Many times we find, based on our experience, that some people write the stories, but somehow it is not suiting to that.
Right, right.
Like there is a gap in this, what the essay is, the story they create.
Right.
Second thing is that somehow they are not able to connect
Right,
towards end. That depends on the writing skill.
right.
And third aspect is that not all people focus on counter thesis. We have seen in the essay when they write, so they just go by since essay is neutral,
Right.
or it's a bit ethical, let's say, the ethics statement is a neutral statement. It can be character and wisdom. So that is how we find many people miss the counter thesis. So yes, although you are telling in a very simple way, how you have written, but behind that it's all about, I guess, articulation.
Right, right.
How you articulate it, how you connect it, because all people may not be able to connect it. Yes.
Right.
Before that, since let's say a long journeys in that, when you started that time in essay, there may be topics like cooperative federalism and others. And now let's say essays, the topics have become purely ethical type, philosophical type. So how you change and how you have coped up with such kind of change?
I feel this should be used to our advantage, these philosophical topics, because it really gives you that scope to show who you are to the person who's checking. Your ability to open up a topic and go into multiple directions, your ability to connect one line of thought after another line of thought. This does not require flowery English or great skills at writing. No, simple logical understanding. Like how you would like to read an essay. So when you're preparing that rough sketch that we prepare initially, so like try to be very logical. Like if I was somebody who's reading this essay, how would I want it to flow, and how will I want it to like connect from one thought to another. So when I was writing essays here, one of the suggestions that I got was that I was writing dimensions, but my dimensions were not flowing from one dimension into another dimension. Somehow that was missing. So okay, I understood this. This was the suggestion that was given to me. So I wanted to work on that. I opened up some topo copies and then I checked as to how they were doing it. So I found some like linking lines, linking statements and lines, and I realized it's easy to link like economy, say political, say like anything economical will flow into politics. So this is somehow I used to connect economics and political. And when it comes to individual and social dimension, if I have to link that, I used to say something like we are social animals, like individual and social are never outside. The idea is I went and I found out those connecting statements. I found, like I wrote 10 such lines and I kept using these lines only. And that problem of my essay not being organic got reduced a little. So even like I made sure I was writing all the essays that I enrolled for, even though I was not submitting everything in time. Like I had some seniors who were also helping me. So I used to send them the copies. But the idea is I practiced and I also tried to take the suggestions seriously and find a way to work on them. So this
is there any connection between ethics and essay nowadays?
Yes, connection in the sense like whatever you prepare for essay, for ethics will be useful in essay, like if you know how to use them. So even though they are giving philosophical essay, we cannot write a philosophical answer, the whole essay. We still have to think like somebody, in the administration or some common person, not somebody with strong philosophical bent of mind. But at the same time, we should also be able to understand the topic, relate it. Here, ethics helps. Whatever preparation you made for ethics, it helps.
Nowadays, if you see the level of paper, even prelims, let's say that a few days back, So it is being told that it is toughest UPSC paper. Similarly, let's see the mains examination when we see the papers, especially essay now you see, ethics you see. And those who are just beginners. Beginners means they just started suppose last year or this year. And they face such a huge level of paper,
Right,
let's
right.
if you see ethics paper. So I counted one case study was around 3,000 words.
Right, right.
But in 2017, all the case studies, total number of words 3,000. So let's say that a candidate who is coming now and he has to start, right? Because suppose a candidate having a bit past, there was a transition from cooperative federalism type of essay to wisdom type of essay. So it is a transition, but nowadays the candidates, those who are coming, they have to directly shoot up, let's say that, they have to, let's say, improve their range
Right,
and to match this.
right,
And writing philosophical essay is very challenging.
right.
Nowadays, khaskar those who are from non-literature background, isn't it? Let's say engineers, doctors. So how this should start? Because there is no foundation level of practice in case of philosophy.
Yes,
Right. You can write on cooperative federalism, you can write on social media is inherently selfish. That kind of essay
Right,
you have
right.
some content to write. If something you know on social media. But essays on wisdom and you don't understand what wisdom means.
right,
So nowadays how you will tell to the students, those who are just starting,
right.
those who are going to write mains first time, how they should prepare their essay now and ethics to match with UPSC standard.
That is true, sir, but at the same time there are like more and more people who are clearing in the first attempt.
Yes.
I was at a program where the top 20 rankers were there and they were introducing themselves, and then quite a few of them did it in their first attempt. So I think first of all it's important to believe that you can
Yes,
shoot
yes, they
there.
can do, and
Yes.
certainly if people are qualifying in
Right.
first attempt, they may have done something good.
Right. And the second thing is, so this is where understanding becomes very important, understanding the demand of the exam, how things should be done. Instead of like passively receiving everything that you're receiving, just focus on how can I score marks. What do I need to do to get that one extra mark in each paper. So that mindset is very important. It's no longer about reading and then going and writing. It's about practicing how to get marks. Which is very different from the idea of I will read and then I will go and write and I'll get marks. No, that's no longer happening. So be very clear about how to tackle the exam, and you can do this by looking at the topper copies. You know, look at like what is that they have done, because if this level of understanding is possible in whichever stage you are, itna you can understand. You can go and look up the topper copies and you can understand things like, okay, they are all writing good introductions, good conclusions, or they are using a lot of examples in their essay. And how are they using their examples? They are making a point, they are substantiating with examples. It's not like a chain of examples put in the paper. So this conscious effort has to be made by you, by looking at the topper copies, everything. Like you have to understand internally what it takes to write a good essay. Once you have understood that, okay, I understood this, now let me practice. And it won't be easy. You will have to write bunch of crappy essays to get to a readable, decent one. So be in that process, like write all those crappy essays. You will get to a point where your essay is worth showing it to someone. But don't be afraid of and then not write it all. So practice more. Like at the end of the day, it's still individual journey. Some
Yes.
get it initially, some take some time to understand it. But whatever it is, it's your own journey.
Anything that you like to tell about our institute?
Mainly the test series program. I didn't find such a comprehensive focus on ethics elsewhere, and it was recommended to me by my seniors who cleared the exam earlier. So I just followed it, and I sat through all the tests. I tried to make notes from the videos that were being provided. So I used even the topper copies on the website. So how I used to practice case studies was, I used to download 3-4 topper copies, and then I would read the question from their copy. I would write my answer, and then I would check what can be done. So that's how I kept improving. The basic of how to write a case study I learned from sir's recorded videos for the test series. So how do I further evolve it? Like, what are the toppers are doing? What can I put in? So these I did through this kind of practice. So I would write the case study by looking at the question, and then I would compare it with the topper's answer, like how different it is. So this is how I did it.
How you will see assess or copy evaluation? Because although it is challenging, but let's know on your side.
I think, yeah, it was useful to assess where you are. See, somebody has to be brutally honest and tell you you're not doing well, you're not writing. I think it's very important, and you should be able to accept that brutal criticism. And so the copy evaluation also I found very realistic. So in my earlier attempts, although I was like writing and answers and all, I was not scoring a lot. But then I made sure I was improving, okay, whatever feedback that I was getting, because the feedback is pretty detailed. There's feedback for theory section, there's feedback for case study section, and there's also feedback written next to each answer. So I found that useful, and this, yeah, it's useful. The idea is, more than copy evaluation, what is important is whether you are working on the suggestions.
Yes, because many a time we find that I tell in discussion a candidate has made mistakes in test 1, and I find the same mistake right. Is repeating in 7th. Often I say in discussion that even I am very, let's say that harsh, I say that haven't you learned? Are you not reading your copies? Are you just writing your tests? So many a time, because a candidate who has not understood the difference between options and course of action, he is repeating the same thing. He is writing course of action as options. So that is how it happened. And if he is writing in 7th test also, so it is that he has not learned.
Right.
This. Plus, through this occasion, I would like to share that what goes basically, it is very challenging in ethics paper to maintain standard of, let's say, what you can say, evaluation, model answer, although discussion I do myself. So we have at least 3-4 layers of thing. I tell to those who evaluate each and every question, there is a separate video on that, in which we tell in this question what you have to care. This, then once they check it, then it is reviewed again. Let's say again I see that those copies. Right. Now we have Lakshmi, who is another, let's say that second in command, you can say that, looking after all these things. So it's, I guess, 3-4 layers. When we do not find the copy, let's say written relevant, we send it back. That way means, although internal things we should not share how it happens. But yes, we do read all the copies, we see the evaluation, and we have told to ourselves that somehow students should know the reality. Where does he stand? Right. So if you are not giving a real evaluation, he will not have even the beginning, he will not start. This. Although it is very challenging, because other 3 papers evaluation is not as challenging.
Right.
Because they are, let's say that people know, and most of the students also know about the first 3 papers. But ethics paper, very less number of people know. And then let's say going on this aspect. Same thing is happening nowadays on essay also, you find. Essay is also becoming philosophical, and then it's again the framing and this evaluation. So for that, this is how I will say. Good thing that you have shared insight related to these things, how I guess it will benefit people. If any question that you have, any question you want to ask? Yes, I guess you have a question related to anthropology. Let's take optional. So what I will say that basically we tell to our students also, the key to success is one aspect. If you are doing better in ethics, essay and optional, we say like sarcastically, although we say it, right. essay, ethics and optional. If someone has done better in ethics and essay and optional, so I guess it can take that person to a top 10 rank, top 100 rank, you can say. And if interview has also done better or GS has done better, that is how it is. So optional, although anthropology is very popular optional. So what is your say on that?
I found the optional very interesting, anthropology, because I did not have clue about a lot of things in it, but that's what made it very fascinating for me. And I read from the textbooks, which I found to be very interesting to read from the textbooks. So in my previous attempts with geography, I was relying on secondary sources, but this time around I wanted to make the process interesting as well. So I read from the textbooks, and importantly I made very short notes. Again, for each topic just one A4 size sheet of notes, even in optional. And even in optional, for every, like optional tends to have a number of syllabus topics, like small topics, but I made sure I had a document where each syllabus topic had introduction and conclusion beforehand, and I was mugging them up on regular intervals so that I can finally go and produce them in the exam. And secondly, I also, whenever I was preparing notes itself, I tried to see how some idea can be put in a diagrammatic way. So I had a lot of diagrams, flow charts and like things to explain what I wanted to say. And again, third thing, any optional, I feel it has to feel like an optional answer sheet or answer. So I took help of scholars and then quoting scholars extensively and using case studies and also putting in current affairs. So I've always been reading newspaper. So every day I definitely read newspaper in the morning, and the moment I see something useful, I will go and put it in the relevant place in a very concise manner, just a bullet point, that's it. Not like copy pasting or writing big stuff, just one line. The idea is you should be able to produce it in the actual exam. So if you make it like 4 sentences of case study, like 4 big lines of case study, how will you write it in the actual exam? So maybe you can put the same thing in a diagram or write it precisely, put it in a box, things like that. So to sum it up, whether it's anthropology or general studies, I was always like in this attempt I was entirely focused on scoring marks. Everything else is secondary.
Yes, everything is reduced to that.
Right. It's always about marks. If I'm reading this paragraph, where will I use it? What use does it have to me? If my answer is yes, I can use it so and so place, I can use it in this way, then I'll read that. Otherwise, I won't read it, no matter how many people are reading or how important, what a great person has written it. That is all secondary to me. For me, can I put it in the exam and can I get that extra half mark or 1 mark? So being that ruthless with the exam, I think helps.
Ruthless. I say engineers are ruthless. Right. I guess he has a question in Telugu.
So this kind of changing
You
option.
come here, since mic you do not have, so just ask her in Telugu.
So when it comes to choosing optional, these beginners, they are making so many mistakes. So after so many years, they are realizing what they made mistake. So this how they can overcome.
Okay, so when I was selecting optional the first time around, I did not do any kind of background work. I just looked at the geography syllabus because somebody said so, and I saw like mountains and things like that, and I thought, okay, this should be easy. That's it. That was my, I didn't see if I had any interest in the subject. I had the aptitude for the answering the kind of questions they were asking. So I didn't want to make that mistake again. So when I decided to change my options, I looked at the syllabus of different optionals, 3-4 optionals that I had narrowed down to. And first I checked for the length of the syllabus, how long or how short the syllabus is. And secondly, I tried to see if there are like such topics where I could score no matter what. Like they are very static, and the questions cannot be like made too analytical or too dynamic. So in anthropology, we have physical anthropology, which is very scientific. It's not biology, it's just scientific, and it can be done. And once you master that, it's easy to like reproduce and get good marks. And there is archaeology, again, like you read that, you make notes, you go and reproduce, you get marks. So I found, okay, this subject has such kind of topics that I can make use of. And then third thing I did was, I looked at the kind of questions that were being asked. So let's say there's a topic called classic evolutionism in the syllabus, and I had books for, since I had friends who were preparing with anthro, sociology and everything, so I took from them topic wise previous year's questions. So I had all the questions on classic evolutionism in one page, and I tried to look at how direct the questions were, or like the nature, and I found in anthropology they tended to be like quite direct in most of the areas. So because I did these three things, I felt like for somebody else sociology could meet that criteria, geography could meet that criteria, but for me, from my assessment, I felt okay, anthropology is meeting this, and I also have a peer group with anthropology. So this is like a good option. My idea is do some background work, like don't take it blindly.
So, two more questions. Another one is, when it comes to studying, they are relying on secondary sources most. So they don't want to make notes or whatever the institution making. That is not useful nowadays for preparing UPSC exam.
Right.
So that kind of suggestions, the sources kind of thing you follow.
Note making, basically he's saying what
right.
is the role of note making?
Yes, studying the standard books, that is most
Right.
important, rather than simply following whatever material available.
Right. So at least for optional, you need to be making your own notes and read the standard textbooks, because the exam is becoming quite competitive year after year, and you need to stand out. If you are relying on secondary sources, it becomes very difficult for you to stand out. But when you read the same topic from a textbook, so for anthropology theories, there is a book by Upadhyay,
Yes.
I think, the theories. It's reading that book may take time, but once you read from the actual book, which is the textbook, and you understand the theory, you can be very creative about it. So whenever there's a question on theories, I always used to, whether they ask it or not, I used to either conclude with the relevance of theory in current times, or put a heading itself, relevance of this theory in contemporary times, and then I used to write 1 or 2 points. This I could do because I understood the theory and I could apply it in different places. So that way, if you read from the textbook and make your own notes, it will be easy. So you can use that content in multiple places, and you can be innovative in your presentation and everything. And more importantly, it becomes interesting. It's always very interesting to read from a good textbook. You'll enjoy the process as well. So don't get scared of the time. If it takes time, then be it.
Yes,
It's your journey
now,
after all.
Yes, this has become a new punchline. Enjoy the process. Right now it is, because I tell to the students, those who are in their just beginning foundation, first attempt, because I see they are frustrated at times. I see that your journey has not yet started and you have become frustrated. The frustration should come in third and fourth attempt, but that also should not come, because now let's say people in that attempt also coming in top. It's not the first time. Even let's say before that it has also happened.
Yes.
Nipur Goyal, she got 11th rank in 2019.
Anudeep Durishetty.
That was also, yes, that was also, let's say, her last attempt. So there are people who qualify in first attempt, there are people who qualify even in last attempt. So there is no point of getting depressed or getting any kind of negativity, because that will further delay your process.
In fact, failure teaches a lot.
Yes.
Success tends to get to our head.
Yes,
So if UPSC is teaching you, then learn.
yes, preparation itself is a kind of learning before going in administration.
Yes.
And one more question, when it comes to writing practice in optional, that is most important. So most of the people they are joining in test series, that they are thinking that some miracle should happen in their life without practicing this.
Right.
So at least you should tell them that importance of writing practice
Yes.
in optional.
That is
Right.
how I also told. Nowadays there is a culture basically that people are supposed writing so many tests is not bad, but whether you are learning from it.
Right, definitely.
So that is how you can highlight about this aspect.
Right, like in any subject, even in optional, like you have to practice a lot, and practicing in optional pays richer dividends because questions tend to be like repeat over the years in optional. So if you have practiced those repeating questions, if they were to appear in the actual exam, you'll write really well. So the first thing, and the second thing is just don't keep on writing tests and not trying to see where you're going wrong. You have to make sure that with every test you are improving. And how to improve? Just work on the suggestions they've given. Look at the topo copies. And for anthropology, at least there is a lot. There's this resource, freely available resource called topo copies for anthropology. So look at the resources and like try to incorporate whatever. So I was going through the test copies of one of the toppers, and there is a theory called symbolic anthropology in anthropology. Yes, something right. And in there was a question, and he answered the question. I'm forgetting the name of the person, but I remember this. And in the conclusion, he linked that symbolic anthropology concept to Jallikattu that was happening at that time in Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
So it's a very basic static theory, and the fact that he could link it to the ongoing contemporary event like shows how much he is understood, and also the approach of. So from his paper, I took this idea. So if there's any theory, I am not going to answer it without putting in relevance somewhere. So a lot of insights you get from the topo copies. It's one thing to get insights, is altogether another thing to actually implement them.
Yes.
That requires practice. Check yourself, like I want to do these things. Am I able to do it in this test? If not, okay, how much could I do? I could do 50% of the things that I wanted to do. Then okay, let me work on the remaining 50% in the next test. So gradually, like, be very deliberate, conscious. Don't be on a passive mode, like be always on the active mode.
Yes, basically what I will tell, practice, let's say, when connecting. Everything in UPSC is connected.
Right.
Even if it is history or it is anthropology. So connecting with whatever the developments happening, it is another, let's say, beauty of articulation, good writing practice you can consider. However, there are some candidates, what they are doing is, in the name of connecting this, they forget to write adequately on the basic part and they start writing more and more the examples part. Do you find like that kind of
Right.
experience?
Yeah, that tends to happen, but it's important, like what should be written, the basic things. And these are all value addition stuff, like be it the examples or trying to write contemporary things or relevant things. These are all only value addition. It's like 30% of the total answer, and they're only going to give you that extra mark. Like let's say for a 10 marker, if you're getting 5 marks, all these is going to get you maybe 6 marks or 5.5 marks. But if you don't write the basic part which addresses the core demand of the question, you won't get those first 5 marks.
Yes.
So you also have to understand, like
This
what
has
is
happened
to
in
be
basically in ethics paper.
right.
What
There's a lot of
people are doing-
examples.
Yes. People, as soon as they start writing answers, so they don't even define the concept. And I still remember it was a question related to wisdom, and a candidate went and writing Hitler example in wisdom. So even they write positive examples, the negative examples together. So that is how we can consider. Yes, good experience. I guess you will share also some of the things. I would like to call them Lakshmi and Abhijit. Basically, they are important part of your journey. So he is basically, let's say, in the process. If you see all those ethics and supervision and evaluation, right? Even nowadays mentoring done. So
Okay.
this is how Lakshmi does. And Abhijit, right? He has evaluated your essay copies. Right. We want to share, and any question that you want to ask. No question.
This time actually there was change in command of the case studies.
Right.
So, right, earlier they used to have only 2 or 3 sub parts of the question. This time in many case studies are 4, 5
Five
commands
questions
like
there.
that. So what we had got feedback from the students that they could not complete the paper just because of so many commands.
Right.
So
Right.
paper was like average, or
Right.
they could have answered it if half an hour extra could have been given. So what you can tell students about this?
See, that's why you have to understand the paper, like at least ethics paper. So I just went through the paper like in few seconds. I was just seeing what kind of questions are there. The moment I saw the case studies and each case study having 5 questions, I did not read still what question was there in it. So I understood for this paper, the game is in finishing the paper. Everything is secondary. I need to finish this paper, and I got this into my head right from the beginning. And I also knew that my case studies are going to take a lot of time. So what I did was I adapted immediately. So generally I give equal time to case studies and section. The moment I realized it, I cut short my section A. I was trying to finish it very quickly. I was trying to be more brief than I usually am. And I got like 10 minutes extra for the case studies section. And then I started writing case studies. And again, like I said, I was using all such formats. There were very few sentences in my whatever I was writing, bullet points and tabular format, and already prepared quotes that were going into it, examples that were going into it. And the moment I came to third case study, I understood these are all same case studies.
Yes.
Now it's even more certain that they want to see if we can finish the paper. So I further increased my speed.
Yes.
Because now it's easy. No, you've written 2 such case studies above. You know the next case studies are also going to be like this. So I've stuck to the format that I had, and I just changed. I wrote the same thing in different forms because the questions were similar, and I finished the paper in time. That consciousness comes when you practice to begin with. If you've done good number of tests, you know what kind of case studies take more time, when the section A tends to take more time. If you have that sense of awareness, the moment you see the paper, you know what this paper is going to need. So I would say that.
How do you see that paper, first 3 papers, ethics paper, the relationship between them, whether there is application of knowledge for first 3 papers in ethics paper?
Yes, it's always possible to connect whatever, for example, when we are doing science and technology in paper 3, we also write about cons for most of the technologies, the problems that could arise. There actually most of them are moral dilemmas or moral problems. So those I used to put in ethics answers. So if you're conscious, you can use one piece of information in a lot of places, and that's very smart way to work. So in my earlier attempts, I was not doing that. But later I realized, okay, this can be done. So this also helped me cut down on the information I was accumulating, the content, the notes I had. With very little, I was like, how can I extract the maximum out of it?
One small question related to ethics. As you said that you were reading everything that you wanted to use, whether it is relevant to your examination and score the marks. So whether it is also related to ethics, or the student should also feel that the ethics paper is there to improve your personality also?
Well, if it does, it does. It's up to you. But I looked at it purely from the point of marks. How can I extract marks out of this paper?
Learn this ruthless approach.
Yes, like you cannot take this personally.
Yes.
You have to stick to your marks, and you have to also convince yourself that this is just an exam. It's a government exam at the end of the day. We make it larger than life thing. If that creates a lot of problems. When you consider it as more than an exam, you don't prepare like you prepare for an exam, which is like aiming at marks. It also takes a toll on your mental health when you create unnecessary hype around the exam. So it's just an exam, and you clear it or you don't clear it. But what is in your hands is you can be very sincere in your efforts. That's it.
Lots of things you have shared. I guess we have traveled a lot. Lots of insight, detailed insights, finer things. So let's talk about something not related to subject, related to like a motivation level. How students should keep their motivation level, and how you can motivate them in this, let's say that PSC, because it is becoming attainable, but yes, at the same time it is challenging.
Right. Even to this, my answer is be ruthless. Don't take it personally. This is just an exam. So you first thing is plan properly. Why we get demotivated more often than not is because we find this is undoable. This is too much large. But when you plan everything down, 2-3 months plan, monthly targets, daily targets, weekly targets. So you have in front of you what you have to do this day, this week. The syllabus can be how much bigger. That's irrelevant to us. For us now, today my work is to do this. So this planning tends to like cut down on the overwhelming part of the exam and make it manageable. So plan properly, and secondly, have a good peer group. It creates a good sense of accountability. Find a healthy peer group that matches your frequency and who's more towards putting in hours and studying. And the third thing I would say is to have a sense of balance. You don't have to study for 10, 12 and 20 hours. Quality study of 7 to 8 hours is important. And in the remaining time, try to pursue your hobbies. Like maybe I used to play badminton, I used to do yoga, I love to cook. So in the evenings I used to cook. I was at home, so I was cooking. Anything all these things, they remind you that there is life outside UPSC and you can learn to be happy outside UPSC, and they recharge you, and next day morning you can sit again and study. So these three things, just
Generally,
balance.
It happens that although you have shown that ruthless, be confident, but some candidates are, I guess most of the candidates, they get self-doubt. Once let's say journey becomes long, they are not those who qualify in first attempt, so they do not face all these challenges. Right. But basically those who do not qualify repeatedly, and again this year also prelims, if you say so, many candidates, they start having self-doubt.
Right.
Whether they are made up of, and toppers are something different made up of. So they start having this kind of self-doubt. So how we can clear that self-doubt? Although we do tell them that there is no difference. Right. It's the thinking that creates the difference.
So I think one way to deal with it is understanding that everybody goes through this self-doubt. So this was my 5th attempt. That means I've put in significant number of years in it, and I've had this self-doubt on a daily basis. I used to question myself. I used to question my intellect. I used to question my career choices. I used to question everything possible about myself. I became very underconfident. But eventually I had to pull myself out of it with the help of my family, my friends, just by telling myself that I'm not alone. This is a process that everybody goes through, but everybody may not be willing to talk about it openly. But there are also people who talk about it openly. So find such people who are willing to open up about their struggles. You may find them on internet or anywhere. Anybody's struggle generally tends to motivate us. So look for that. And second thing is, never become complacent. What happens is, after 2 or 3 attempts, you feel like, I know everything. What will I watch in a topper talk? They say everything that I already know. Instead, come out of that complacency. Never be complacent. Try to see, okay, what is that working in the recent days? What seems to be the new style of writing answers? Anything. Always try to improve. Keep on the improvement mode. How can I improve? How can I improve? How can I improve? And the third thing I feel is learning new things. I always found that when I'm learning a new skill, it helps with my motivation. I enrolled in badminton class, and then I enrolled in karate class. Just to whenever I'm learning something new, I tell myself that I have this ability to learn things. I'm not so bad. So this helped with my confidence.
Yes,
a lot of things that you can do.
Yes. These things give you time to think yourself.
Right.
and change your, let's say, thinking inside your mind.
So never stop learning, never stop improving, and it's okay to fail. Like I failed, so what happened? Like eventually I got somewhere.
Yes, someone asked,
Like-
want to ask question. Yes.
UPSC has gradually extended the scope of its questions being asked to a very wide level now. It has become like a defense spectrum. So how to tackle this level of unpredictability and uncertainty?
He's asking, like, see, now it's open. It's quite wide to, means UPSC, the scope of asking question, it's very vast now. Let's say gradually it is becoming very vast. Like this year prelims also, we are again I will say. So how students can cope up with this?
First is the questions they are asking could be wide, but the syllabus is the same. So you stick to the syllabus, you prepare the syllabus thoroughly. This is first thing. And the second thing is being very conscious and smart about things. Like it's no longer that you read and then you expect those questions to come in the exam. It's all about adapting to the new set of questions that are coming, or interconnecting. Like I used quotes in the section A, that quote based questions in the case study part, because I found one particular quote very relevant to quote in a case study. So I just lifted that and used here. So always be on that adaptability mode and try to be innovative. And the third thing and the most important thing to deal with such uncertainties, practice to deal with uncertainty. That is by practicing tests. So if you are used to writing answers to even unpredictable questions, you will go and do it in the actual exam as well. So you practice for that uncertainty, you practice for that unpredictability.
Any question from online? Whether people have any question from online? Online. Do you want to ask question from online? No questions. Anyhow, so yes.
I was to ask this year we have seen the paradigm shift.
Paradigm
It might call attempt. I'm not very sure about getting government that PDF. So how you have managed your that time? Because it seems very long. How you have managed and have strategized?
Yes, in online also people are asking how to deal with prelims.
Okay. So two things for prelims. First is doing your basics right. So basics, I mean like the basic textbooks that everybody is reading, Lakshmikant or Bipin Chandra's NCRT or Tamil Nadu NCRT for ancient and medieval, the utmost basic things, okay, do them and have their notes, very crisp short notes ready, revise them again and again. This is the only thing that is in your hands. So you make sure you have like 100% command on this part. And the second is the practice, and this is what changes everything for you. So generally I used to do 2 test series, which is 70 questions in total before prelims. So every day I used to do like 1 test, and from this, and I made sure every test that I attempt is revised at least thrice before going to the actual exam. And I had a whole schedule for this, like when will I take the first test, when will its revision, first revision be, when will its second revision be. All of this can be managed well in the Google Sheets. And third thing, I used test series to learn a lot of new facts that we would otherwise not find in the static exams, static books. So when I revised, I picked up whatever new facts that I was getting, and I wrote them in a paper called error list. I used to call it my error list, and usme I used to like add all these points. So this way I accumulated a lot of new points through the tests. And also when you solve 70 tests, you learn a lot of techniques as to how to attempt a test. It's not about content, it's not about knowledge. In prelims, it's about do you or do you not know how to solve a test. Nobody knows more than 30-35 questions for sure. So the rest of the questions is a pure game of skill. So if you keep practicing and learn that by yourself, you can improve. Otherwise, no matter how much of reading you do, you cannot like go ahead in prelims.
There are lots of now questions on online which you can deal with. First question is someone asking about interview. Tell something about interview.
Okay, so interview, I'll just tell you the mistake that I did in the first time. I thought interview was a mains exam in a different format. Mains you write, interview you speak. So that's how I approached, and it couldn't be farther from true. So interview is a personality test, and it is truly a personality test. This understanding has helped me improve over 20 marks in the exam. So I try to read the syllabus of the personality test and the values that they are expecting from me, and I try to communicate those values, something like confidence, being balanced, being cheerful, being honest and humble. I practiced how to communicate these values through my answers. So this should be the approach. Once you catch the demand of the personality test and the right approach, this is anybody can like do it.
Yes, next question if can manage, it's very lengthy question, short question. He is asking every GS subject, what is the strategy?
It's actually, I will have a very short answer for this, because it's the same thing for every topic.
Every paper topic, yes.
Syllabus, previous year's questions, one A4 size sheet notes, that's it. This is the formula, sort of a thing, and then you practice, keep on practicing more. So I would say, like, beyond this you have to evolve some things like how to add value and stuff. I've also talked about how I had introductions and conclusions ready for all the syllabus topics, which helped me cut down on the time I was taking to write every single answer.
Someone is asking current affairs, how dynamic, how to manage?
For current affairs, I just used to read one newspaper every day, and I stopped reading monthly magazines or anything like that. They were just too many and not manageable for me. So I read my newspaper every day, and I made a list of topics that I felt are important. So for a month you would barely have 10 or 12 topics that you would pick up from the newspapers. Like for example, G20 is a topic, or SEO summit is going on, that is a topic. And for those topics, for those few topics that I was picking up, I made my own notes. Just again A4 sheet notes. I used multiple sources to make my notes, but my notes was always crisp. Whatever I was referring to was not relevant to me. I just took whatever I wanted and prepared notes, and I kept revising these. So my current affairs preparation, I've prepared very few current affairs, I would say, and I try to extract the best out of it.
Another question is CSAT. Every year it is changing. So any experience of your CSAT?
So in my fourth attempt, I did not clear prelims, and it was because of the CSAT.
Yes, so then it is enough.
And I graduated from an IIT, so so please do not take CSAT lightly. Something, even if you are from engineering, mathematics background, the practice is important. Just
it is motivation for all, as well as a cautionary note for all also.
Yeah.
Both, isn't it?
Right.
You should not take, even if you are from IIT, so you should not take CSAT nonchalantly.
So one thing about CSAT is, don't be stuck on I'll do only math questions, or I'll do only English questions, or I'll do only logical reasoning questions. Just do a bit of all of them, because what happens is sometimes math is very difficult, but the other two are easy. So if you're somebody who's hell bent on only attempting math and coming out, then you will take more time to solve the questions, and you may not clear the cutoff. So in a balanced way, attempt all types of questions, pick out the easiest questions, and practice beforehand, like write a few test papers for that as well.
Someone is saying how to manage 8 hours of study while going office. Everything you want to ask.
Study in office.
Study.
You have to like try to see, plan properly, I think. How many hours are you getting? How much do I have to study? And for how long can I pan this out? This many hours, this much syllabus. So how long will my preparation be? And be again very ruthless with the little time that you have. And actually take it as an advantage. Because
Yes.
most of us tend to read a lot because we have a lot of time unnecessarily. So you are at an advantage. You have only little
Yes,
time,
yes,
and
so-
now you will put your effort into thinking how to make the best use out of it.
Yes, yes, yes. The last question also, someone is asking, should we study ethics first before writing tests?
Oh, yes, you should definitely study first, make some basic notes on all the topics like any other paper, and then you attempt tests and then gradually improve. And when you're making notes, refer to previous year's questions, refer to syllabus, and try to utilize, collect examples from elsewhere. And so prepare notes, and then you can start attempting the tests.
So lots of things you shared, and it's quite, we'll say that helpful it will be for the students, because it's very focused, and to the, let's say that key point, being told about different aspects. So any question?
And what should be the time schedule that take 10 to 15 days before the exam? Like how to maximize the output regarding what we have done through the year.
Right.
Is there anything that can be done even 15 days just before examination?
To maximize the output
Right.
and the whole year.
So, first thing is do not read anything new, which I am sure everybody knows. And the second thing is you should be planning about this from the beginning itself. So, I did not do this in my previous attempts, but this time I was very sure, I planned before what will I do in the last 15 days or so. So, I had data sheets, basic data, like not too much data. Now there are like compilations on data which is not needed, like whatever basic things that you think are needed. I had those. I had introductions and conclusions prepared. I had the examples sheets. I was only revising these again and again and again and again. I was revising those. So in the last 10 or 15 days, I was revising my value addition part, which is very small, but you still have to revise it again and again so that you can actually reproduce in the exam. Like for international relations, I decided that my conclusions will always be quotes, and I wrote 5 generic quotes given by Minister of External Affairs. They are like very general, you can mold them and use anywhere. And I
Yes,
was
he gives lots of
Right.
good quotes, in fact good content also when he speaks.
So I was revising those. Likewise, I had introductions and conclusions. So this value addition part and not the static content, which we have anyway studied, practiced in tests, consolidated. So you can put them aside and focus on these which will actually fetch you marks.
So we should finish now. We'll once again thank you for coming here,
Thank you, sir.
and
Thank you.
really it was it's a humble nature that he has brought here. And because as we told you, again we'll tell you that we are first time welcoming someone who has received all India rank 3rd, and we are very frank enough to admit all these things as we teach ethics. Anyhow, ruthless we will remember. Right. Which I used to teach, so tease especially to the engineers. Basically they are very ruthless. Right. And like, let's say that coincidentally she is also engineer. So you have to be very ruthless, and because the PSC demands to be ruthless, and there is no point of getting carried away, or let's say giving in to the challenges. Although yes, you give in at times, you feel, let's say that low, as she has also shared, but ultimately let's say that there are hundreds of thousands of stories in this world, where people have not given in, even if they have faced that situation. And you can be also part of that next year. Every year there are some people, those who have been doing it, and only those who can have a self-belief and they do not, let's say that feel low, even if they feel motivated. It's also about that you have to maintain some your own unique strategy. Every year, as she has shared.
Also, sir, I would like to say something. So when I mentioned elsewhere that I had this A4 size sheet, consolidated sheet. So I was being asked where can I find those notes. But the whole idea is for you to study, consolidate, and have the ability to consolidate and write it in a sheet of paper, which is what will help you score. So you cannot rely on somebody else's notes. That's a very big mistake.
That is how. That is how.
It's counterproductive.
Yes, learning from others and just blindly imitating. They are two different things.
Right.
If you blindly you are learning, so you are not creating your own uniqueness, your own distinctiveness. It is her distinctiveness which has made like this. So you should learn it and you should then make it your own distinctive aspect, that is called uniqueness in your preparation. And I guess UPSC is so inclusive that it has welcomed, let's say, right, it welcomes for all those people who have this kind of distinctive, let's say that uniqueness. And that is how we can tell, and we'll finish our session here. All the best, and also we'll have best wishes for her journey now, a new journey, let's say in becoming an IAS and the challenges and other life facing. So we wish her best, all the best. We'll finish here. Thank you for all.